With the Carolina Panthers being eliminated from playoff contention, I think it's time we move away from the game-by-game breakdowns with there only being one game left and get more into what's going to happen with this team in the offseason. You're listening to Money in the Bank. There is no secret here. Jim Harbaugh is one of the leading candidates for the Carolina Panthers head coaching job heading into 2023. It doesn't matter whether David Tepper says it. It doesn't matter whether Jim Harbaugh denies it. We all know that this is going to be one of the most sought-after candidates for any NFL team looking for a head coach heading into the new season. And with that being said, let's start off with Jim Harbaugh and what he said, which was very vague in nature. And I'm going to put it up here on the screen so you guys can read it. But if not, I'll read a quick summary of what he said. I am aware, quote, I am aware of the rumors and speculation over the past few days. College and NFL teams have great interest in all of our personnel, from players to coaches to staff, and I truly believe that this is a testament to the strength of our University of Michigan football program. As I stated in December, while no one knows what the future holds, I expect that I will be enthusiastically coaching Michigan in 2023. I have spoken with the President Santaono and Athletic Director Ward Manuel, and appreciate their support of me and of our program. Our mission as Wolverines continues, and we are progressing for the 2023 season with great passion and enthusiasm as our legendary coach Bo. Yeah, doesn't really matter. All right, so the last part doesn't really matter. It's nothing, just propaganda, if you will. All right, in that statement, if for the people that read it, they looked at it, paused the video and read it on the screen, or listened to me read it out loud, which is not great. He said a whole lot of nothing. I mean, you can go back and reread it a numerous amount of times. He says nothing that denies that he's going to entertain an NFL job in 2023. Like, he literally doesn't say it at all. He's going to be entertaining. Here's what I took from it. And this is all me and nobody else saying this. Jim Harbaugh will be entertaining NFL offers this offseason. That's the clearest thing that I got from everything he said. He's not saying no, that he'll take an offer. He's not saying yes, that he won't. Like, I mean, he's just going to be entertaining everything and anything and everything that comes his way this offseason, which he should. I mean, he's a guy that's kind of got his pick of the litter, per se, when it comes down to places to coach. Now, for David Tepper, I completely understand why that man is probably the first guy on your list of candidates as far as who you want to lead this team in 2023. Let's not get it confused. No matter how you feel about his tenure in San Francisco, that man instantly flipped that team from, at that point, was a perennial loser, at least from my point. Like, until Jim Harbaugh got to San Francisco, I didn't know San Francisco besides the history they had with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. Because there is no history really in between. Steve Young as well. But there's not a whole lot of history in between that time, because they weren't winning in the early 2000s. At least about, like, I started watching football in 2000 and probably really started paying attention to it in 2005. Yeah, they weren't good. They weren't good up until the point where Jim Harbaugh takes over at that year would have been 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. He instantly turns that team around and makes them playoff contenders, Super Bowl contenders. You know what I'm saying? And I can see very well why, like, if a guy like that is on the market, you go attack and try to see if you can get him to coach your team. Because with the roster that we have and the way that Jim Harbaugh built his teams in San Francisco, hard-nosed defense, the ability to run the ball, a quarterback that can manage the game, kind of sounds like what we have here in Carolina right now. Do I think Sam Darnold is the preferred option for him in 2023? Absolutely not. Do I think he can work with Sam Darnold and make him a viable quarterback option for the Panthers in 2023? Absolutely yes. No matter how you feel about Sam as far as talent-wise, I think I look at Alex Smith, who, again, if we really want to talk about it, had a very similar career arc to Sam Darnold in the sense that drafted by a team that at the time was not very good, clear as day, as to why you're a top 5 pick. Head coaching carousel, not great for young quarterbacks, that guys that are trying to develop. And ultimately being the scapegoat for a franchise that was inept, and putting talent around him and coaching staffs that could work with him and make him better. Insert Jim Harbaugh. who instantly turns Alex Smith into a viable quarterback, not only to a viable quarterback, a playoff quarterback that could potentially get you to a Super Bowl if the situation's right, though Alex Smith never did it. He played a lot of great football from the time he met Jim Harbaugh to the time he left the league, and again, you saw him with guys like Andy Reid. He played for good coaches from the time Jim Harbaugh got there to the time he retired from the league. Alex Smith played for good coaches, and good coaches got the most out of Alex Smith, proving that Alex Smith was not a bust that as many people thought. And when you think about what year Alex Smith was drafted, which was 2006, for him to I think it was either 2005 or 2006, I'm not either one of those two. I know he's in the same Aaron Rodgers draft, so whichever year Aaron Rodgers got drafted. Like, for a guy that, one, had got that long of an opportunity to be the starting quarterback for a team, even though they weren't winning and he wasn't necessarily producing, once he had the opportunity to play for a good coaching staff, and again, one guy in particular, you saw things instantly change. People seem to feel that way. People around the fan base are starting to feel that way about Sam, that if we give him the right coaching staff, that maybe we don't have to necessarily look at quarterback as hard. I'm going to tell you right now, no matter who's coaching this team, quarterback is a position of need for the Carolina Panthers. Do not fool yourself with what Sam Darnold did. Now, while he does deserve credit for what he did this season, we cannot put the blinders up and act as if we are good at that position and that we are good to go and we can move forward with him and we can be a championship caliber team. Let's not do that. Let's not make that mistake. But saying that he does deserve a chance to come back next year, I'm not necessarily against it. Just not the biggest proponent of it either. So again, if I'm David Tepper, I'm looking at what he's done in his previous stops and turning guys around, turning programs around, and not the Matt Rule turn programs around where you go from winning 6 to 8 games, but he actually turned around a collegiate team and an NFL team. He has a propensity for this. He's done this before. He's got pedigree. So going for a coach like that it's a given. And nobody should be offended here. Wilk shouldn't be offended for the fact that Tepper is going to look at every candidate, and this is possibly the best candidate out there for the job. Fans shouldn't be offended. If the fans that are fans of Wilkes and Steve Wilkes and want him to get the job should not be offended, because this is going to be a long process. They're going to go through the entirety of this process and vet out every option that they think is viable enough to make this team contending again and winning again. So they can get guys like me, who I'm not investing my money into this team unless we win football games. Costs a little too much for me to go. This ain't free. Ain't no charities, man. You either you win or we don't come. That's either one of the two. That's how it goes here. So David Tepper's fighting that. So he's gonna do everything he can to vet out those options. Now, this video may be a little bit longer because now I have to go through the Steve Wilkes portion of this, because to me, there's not a lot of options outside of Jim Harbaugh and Steve Wilkes for me. If you're asking me how I feel about DeMeco Ryans, I really like DeMeco Ryans. But if I were to go with DeMeco Ryans, I would then have to ask myself, well, why would I not just take Steve Wilkes? If we're talking about defensive-minded head coaches who you then question can put together an offensive staff or staff in general. With Ryans, I'm questioning, can he put together a staff in general, because he hasn't done it before. Wilkes, I'm asking, Wilkes and Ryan, I'm asking, can you put together an offensive staff that can help develop quarterbacks and and make your offense viable for an entire 17-game season? Two questions that I think are legitimate. Now, Harbaugh obviously checks all those boxes. Now, moving on, I don't think there's a bunch of young candidates out there that I love more than Wilkes and Harbaugh for me. So if you're asking what does Shantice think, this is a two-man race, like I stated before. Now, when we break down what happens with Wilkes if he doesn't get the head coaching job, I'm going to tell you this. To everyone that feels that Wilkes should stay as the defensive coordinator if he doesn't get the job, I'm going to tell you why that's an insane idea.
This is for you.
One, for Steve Wilkes, this man has, to me, proven that whether you feel like he got a fair shot in Arizona or not, he has learned from that. He has learned from that and can inspire a group of men to play better and can maximize what he has in front of him. A la the roster that we had that was 1-4, that he ended up getting 5 wins out of so far this season, hitting our highest win total of all of the Matt Rule era in a 10-game stretch or 11-game stretch. So there's that. Then there's the part of, why do you think Jim Harbaugh, a guy that knows that he's then going to have a former head coach on his staff that was coaching this particular team, that has a relationship with this particular team and its players, wants to have that man in the locker room as he coaches? You know what I'm saying? It's a feeling of somebody looking over your shoulder, because you know he's got the locker room. They buy into him. They perform for him. I don't know if you want that in the locker room. It's the same reason why Matt Rule got rid of Cam Newton heading into his first year. Not because of whether he believed he could play or not. It's a matter of, I want my voice to be the voice in the locker room. And if we know anything about Jim, well, I'm not going to say this is factual, but just from what I believe, and this is all conjecture from me, he is a guy that wants to have his hands on this team, his imprint on this team. He's a great head coach. Great head coaches usually want to have their imprint on the team. He's also been a college head coach, much longer than he's been an NFL one. And the one thing I say about college guys in general that come from that level, that they are controlling of their situation. They are the de facto boss of that situation. The AD is the AD, and he has the power to fire them or either fire them or hire them. But let it be clear. Collegiate coaches run that show. Whatever you see is what they wanted out there. So I don't think having a guy like Steve Wilks, who is even though well respected, will go over well for him, in the sense that he wants to have full control of this team and have this team play and look in the image of him. So I think there's that. For Steve Wilks, on the other hand, I wouldn't take that job either. If I feel like I've shown what I could do in this position, and I've maximized, I think I maximized all of what I could do in this situation, then I think I deserve a chance to be able to go all the way through with this and get a year or two to show that I can build it and it can work. I think Wilks has earned that. I think Wilks has earned the right to feel that way. Now, while he has earned the right to feel that way, doesn't mean you deserve a job. And I am a supporter of Steve Wilks, and I'm kind of torn in between the two, because I know I'm not torn in between the two. I'm a fan of either option. Simply put, I love the Jim Harbaugh hire. I love the Steve Wilks hire, and I could roll into next season with both of them feeling like we're better off than what we were the year before, and that's a great feeling in and of itself. And also, where's the standard? This is the last part of the video, and it's the last little bit I'll say, and then I'll be out y'all way. Y'all can go on and have a great day. Where's the standard? Well, why is the standard for Steve Wilks seemingly so high when the standard for Matt Rule was bottom tier on the floor? And we, as a fan base, couldn't even completely come together to feel that he needed to be fired all at the same time. Now, I will say, I was a little way early on the fire Matt Rule train. I didn't like the hire. That's just me, and that's just how I felt about it. So maybe I'm not the guy you want to ask, but it took some people a long time to get to a consensus where we all felt like this isn't working. Why in that same season, in the same year, in the same NFL season calendar year that Rule is fired, do we have a higher sense of expectation for Steve Wilks than we had for the previous guy? A guy that and a guy in Steve Wilks that's dealing with a coaching staff that isn't his, a roster that isn't his, and overall he maximized every single bit of it to get to where we got to. Remember now, this job doesn't look like this job does not look like a great job if it wasn't for what Steve Wilks did during this season. Let it be known. I don't think Harbaugh looks at a team that, if this team goes on to win 4 games or 3 games, does Jim Harbaugh look at this job and say, "Oh, this is a great job. This is a great situation"? No. But what Wilks did is maximize his team, maximize the potential of Sam Darnold to have you even think right now today, why do you think Sam Darnold is a viable option at quarterback, if you do think that? Because it can't be because of what Matt Rule did, and it can't be because of what you saw out of him in New York. It is because, and I can say this, I'm saying this, whether you believe it or not, it is because of what Steve Wilks and McAdoo were able to do down the stretch. But the whole philosophy change of the team happened when Steve Wilks got there. I'll say this, man. Want who you want. All I'll say is I will support whoever the coach is going to be as much as I can. But I don't have a long... I can't handle BS well. And as long as we're not getting that, you'll have me as a supporter. As the coach should have you. But with that being said, this is your boy Sean T. Stewart. I'm sorry for this being a longer video than most, but I had to get this out to y'all, man. I'm a little late, so it is what it is. But be sure to follow us on Instagram at P1N_network. Follow our parent page at Panthers Nation with the one where the I's supposed to be, because you already know what time it is. And I'm out.